Ah, yes. Welcome inside our CBS Sports Studios. I'm Adam Shine alongside my guy, the great Kyle Long. And Kyle, I want to give some love to the Bears because there might have been, games that were sexier this week in the NFL or victories that you look at and say, oh, that's a statement. This is a statement. Let me tell you something. Chicago had a golden opportunity to beat Green Bay. They didn't. Credit the Packers. Things at the end you can criticize Chicago for. I picked Chicago to win that game. You picked Chicago to win that game. I thought there were so many positives, and what I wanted to see from Chicago this week, bounce back, look great. Don't overlook the fact that you have Green Bay coming up in a relatively short period of time now in week number 16. I thought the Bears showed a lot of heart, gumption, talent, and they are absolutely ready to take care of business. I'm just calling my shot again. This showed me that they're ready to beat the Green Bay Packers in Chicago coming up in Week 16. Love what I saw from the Chicago Bears.
You know, I've seen enough throughout the course of the year to feel comfortable saying I felt comfortable thinking that the Bears would handle business on the road. Now, obviously, you get another crack at it next week with the Packers coming to your house, but let's dive in a little bit on today against this Browns team in some real Chicago-type weather. So the Chicago offense got to showcase today their super weapon, for lack of a better phrase, in Caleb Williams. I remember when I was in Kansas City, and it was a balmy 9 degrees, and it was a 1 o'clock kickoff or whatever it was, and the wind was whipping through Arrowhead. And I looked at Mike Kafka, our quarterback coach at the time, and I said, so are we going to change up our game plan at all in terms of what we're thinking in the passing game? And he looked me dead in the eyes. He laughed in my face, and then he pointed to a guy warming up with number 15 on it. He said, that guy throws right through the wind. Yeah. In Chicago, you've got a quarterback that can throw right through the wind. Not only that, he's getting more confident week to week. The defense showed up in a big way today. 3 points total for the Cleveland Browns, who had a 350-yard passer last week. A team not short on confidence at all offensively. And obviously, they got some real killers on the defensive side as well. 31 points for the Bears at home. Good teams beat teams they're better than. Really good teams beat the brakes off of teams that they're better than. What we saw today was a butt-whooping, old school, BTA, as the kids in the YouTube comments would say. I'll explain that to you off air.
Thank you.
But I'll just say this. The Chicago Bears, they're ready. They went and they got their water break this week against the Cleveland Browns. They get an opportunity to play the Packers at home next week. Some bully ball. If you thought Lambeau was a physical affair last week, which it was, round 2 is always more physical because you're building on last week's momentum, hatred, lack of chemistry.
100%.
That stuff's coming in a huge way at Soldier Field.
Round 2, when you play 2 times within 3 weeks, which I love when the NFL does that.
The best.
It's incredible. It's great theater, great drama. That's done with a point and a purpose. To your point, though, and I think this is brilliant, not only did they have to win, you kind of wanted to see them kick Cleveland's ass.
Yep.
They're a better team, take all the aggression out on the Cleveland Browns, and it was a total team effort. The run game was terrific. The defense was outstanding. Caleb Williams showing off that arm, that accuracy, the ability to run, the physique, the toughness. And remember, the Green Bay game, Caleb was bad in the first half. Second half, he was great. Now, obviously, at the end, we could talk about the play call, we could talk about the throw, we could talk about the decision.
Or we can move on to next week.
Bingo. And you know what? I think that because they moved on this past week with how they beat Cleveland.
They showed us that they did.
They 100% proved they've moved
no
on
hangover.
And ready to rock and roll now. And I'll tell you something else. I think a lot of people were feeling like, okay, Chicago's a house of cards, they're frauds. Nonsense. If you watch that game in that second half, they were better than Green Bay. Credit the Packers. There were 3 plays in that game where they were tough and clutch, and Green Bay earned that victory. But if you look at the signs, it's all there for Chicago to find a way to get this win and to make the playoffs and/or big picture win the division. I mean, if you're a Bears fan, it's Ben Johnson and that culture, and it's unbelievable.
And you know what? It kind of feels to me like we were having a conversation during the Patriots game, 21-0. I was like, Mike Vrabel, Coach of the Year, you and I are kind of like, yeah, it's kind of a no-brainer. Well, after today, it feels like not so much a no-brainer. And if Ben Johnson can get this team to kick ass 2 weeks in a row, Browns, you go beat the Packers at home. we could be having a different conversation. There's so many storylines at play for the Chicago Bears.
Also, when you look at the nature of the NFC, and this is why I like raising the bar in Chicago, because my goal for the Bears, I picked them preseason to make the playoffs. You want this season, at the end of the day, to say, okay, the 2026 Chicago Bears can represent the NFC in the Super Bowl. Like, that's the goal. Landscape of the NFC, right? Why not the Bears? And I don't want to sit here, oh, Adam, they just beat the Cleveland Browns. No, it's the response and how they lost. Caleb throws that pass, right? It wasn't the right decision, didn't get enough on the fastball. The bounce back is there. The schedule for Chicago is, quote unquote, difficult. All these teams, Kyle, go through it. They have to find a way to beat Chicago. Like, someone might look at that schedule and say 0-3. I'm saying 2-1 minimum for the Chicago Bears.
And you know what you can look at it one of two ways. It's a mindset. As the great Patrick Mahomes used to say, when I'd be there watching him operate week to week, he'd always tell his guys, it's a mindset. And I think that's a perfect way to approach these final 3 weeks. Green Bay Packers, San Francisco 49ers, Detroit Lions. Oh, you're just telling me we're in the playoffs. We're in the playoffs. We're playing playoff teams, not only just like wild card. These are playoff teams. You get in that mindset, you get in your tunnel, and you launch into outer space. And where you end up just comes down to a little bit of luck, a lot of physicality, and the Chicago Bears have that on their side this year. Like you said, 2-1. That's all you got to go. And a couple weeks ago, it was you got to go 4 out of 7. And now we're at the 2-1 mark. You beat the Packers. You look up in a couple weeks, you're going to be really happy where you're at.
Yeah, and I think they're going to go a minimum of 2-1. I think they're going to beat Green Bay. And you're right when you start talking about Coach of the Year vibes when it comes to someone like Ben Johnson.